Hey, this is Brian with Phat X, and today we're doing a upgrade to a system that we put in a long time ago. We have a Berhinger X32 here, and then I'm going to take you over to where the streaming system is. We're going to be adding, they've been using a tablet. We're going to add a Berhinger X32 Compact, so that way it takes up less space. You don't need this big or large thing, just a couple more layers, but it does the same thing. So we're going to be doing that today. Running a Cat 5, Cat 6 out of here, and running it up over to the streaming. All right, this is the streaming booth, and where the live stream is, it's in a whole separate room from the sanctuary, so that way you can have his own. You got monitors in here, has a flat screen to see the service. And then that computer there is to monitor the live stream. It's a basic system. We have been using a tablet. That's been put away. I don't need it anyway. And then we've been using a small mixer to split the signal coming from the live mix, to hear the live mix, and then coming from the mixer down there into here to mix here, and it's sent over to the So this is where the director is for the live stream. He's here, and then we have Pro Presenter station over here. So we're using, excuse the mess, we're going to clean it up today too. They're using ATEM Mini Extreme ISO. ATEM Mini Extreme, and then they run PTZ cameras, and that's the controller for the PTZ cameras. That's the computer that they're using for streaming, and then that's the monitor to monitor the feed with the. All right, we have the Berhinger X32 Compact in. I ran the Cat 6 over here, and I need to get a couple cords to hook it up because I'm changing it from this little mixer to this bigger one. And so I'm going to program it, and we'll go through that a little bit. Hi, this is Brian with Tech Talks, and today I'm going to be talking about an install we're doing and almost finished with. Today we're talking about taking this is the front of house Berhinger X32, and they're going to run it upstairs into the media room, where they're using a tablet to run it off of a aux send and for the tablet, and now we're putting in a Berhinger X32 Compact. And so I'm going to kind of talk about the process of what I've learned about the process, because one of the things I realized in learning about this install, that the videos that are out there didn't quite go through some of the challenges that you face if you excuse me, if you starting with an existing system. A lot of times they're starting with a fresh system, and so it makes it easier. And I'm one of these guys that when I find innovative ways and use cases to help us to do it better for less, then I'm going to do so. So this is the front of house console that's in the main sanctuary, and then I'm going to go into the back. I'm going to stop, and I'm going to go into the back and then show you the stage box, and then talk about the connections there and what we did with that, and then we'll go upstairs into the media room and show you. So we're behind the pulpit in the church, and this is the amp rack. It's a mess because we've done some changes, and we have it set up a certain way that we can pack some stuff into different things. And so what happened was we took this amp rack from the initial church, and they didn't want to spend more money to get a higher rack, and so we just sat the stage box right here. So this is the S32, which everything's connected to it. And what we did was that when we first installed it, we inherited the mixer. We had a different mixer that we're going to bring in, but then we had to buy a stage box for that, because at the time we had the mixer, they didn't have the stage box, and the stage box came out some time afterwards. And so when we came here, this board was already here. It's not necessarily a better board than we have, but a different board than they had here. So I said, let me just go ahead and use this, get the stage box, because the good thing about this was I did a video a while back using analog, going from analog to digital, and Berhinger had this D32, this D16, I think it was. I don't remember what it's called now. And so I did a video on that went viral because it was going from analog to digital using the P16, which is the personal inner monitors with an analog board. So with this one, we didn't have to do that. This takes that in there, and all I got to do is just buy the smaller adapters, for everything to plug into, and then that plugs into through the Ultranet connection. So this is the hookup for here, and I wanted to share that little history because what happened was we didn't, the board didn't have, because it was an older, X32 board. It there wasn't a sticker on it that says that you have to have a shielded cable. So we ran a regular Cat 6. We didn't run a Cat 5 because we said Cat 6 is faster. So we ran a Cat 6, and so we ran a Cat 6 cable all the way from the stage up to the ceiling and dropped it down over here and plugged it into the back of the S32. So I just want to share that to you. So when I talk about the rest of the processes, you kind of understand that from the pulpit, from here behind stage up to the sound booth is ran, because we didn't know any better. We ran Cat 6 just. All right, up in the streaming room, the broadcast room, and I want to kind of talk about the processes of what I had to do in order to get this to work. Again, as I mentioned earlier, that with this new board, this is the new board for the broadcast. Again, as I mentioned earlier, we were using a tablet, using an iPad, and the iPad has its limitations, so it's harder to go through the process. You can do it. And we've done it, and they've been doing it for years since they've been in this location now for, I think, almost 5 years. So in the process, they've started with that, so they've been using it, but there's some limitations. And I want to talk about some limitations even with this process too, so that way when you go this route, what the slight limitations are. And I got to figure out how to bypass it if there's ever, even if there's ever a way. So anyway, in setting this up on the back of this one, as well as I had never done this part of it before, so I said, let me go look at some YouTube videos. And as I was watching the videos, all the people are saying, oh, you need a shielded Cat 6 or Cat 5e or Cat 6 or 7, whatever, that you would need to have it shielded cable. And so when I first set it up, I said, oh, let me just use this other cable because this other one works back there. If this doesn't work, that'll work. And not knowing what there's some setup things that you need to do in order for it to work. And that part is there's other tutorials on that, on setting it up, the broadcast wise, but I just want to go into the use case of the challenges I had, so that way you know what you can and can't do, or what the limitations are, versus me telling you how to do it, because there's tons of videos out there that know how to do it. I just want to help you with learning what I've learned, so that way you don't have to go through what I went through and with some of the challenges. So let me say this one thing. When I set it up, I ran the cabling from, so how you have two ways of setting up your board, which all the videos will tell you the same thing, that you either come from the board, or you can come from the actual snake box. Well, because it's a 200 plus foot run from here, it's like probably almost 300 feet, which is fine, but that means going up through the ceiling again and going across and dropping it down when it's easier to come off the board. So what happens is when you set it up, and I didn't know it at the time, that you have to, the cool thing about the Berhinger is you can set it up any kind of way, but there's certain ways that it has to be done in order for it to work, the basics of it working. And so I didn't realize that I had to assign, that is the master downstairs in the audio, out in the sanctuary, and then this becomes a slave, and what that truly meant. And so when I set it up, I kept getting an error message when I first set it up. I just ran a regular cable because that's what I did before. I said, if it's working that way, I don't need a shielded cable. If that's working, then this will work. So I said, oh, let me try it. And then when it didn't work, I thought it was a cabling. And thank God for God's anointing. So I said, ooh, let me order. So I went on and ordered a shielded cable, ran through, did it again, and realized that I had to assign it from down there, from being the master to this being the slave, and it has to be on for it to work right. And that's going to come into play in a second when I talk about the second part of what I want to talk about. So figured it out that it's, they're talking to each other. All three ways of talking to each other. The run down to from the sanctuary to behind the stage where the stage box is Cat 6, and then I ran Cat 6E. Ran a shielded cable of Cat 6 shielded from here, which is probably, it's 100 foot, 75, 80 foot from there to here, from the sound booth to, from the sound booth to the broadcast booth. And so got it talking, and then got it. One of the things that let me say this too. This is going to be kind of a not necessarily long one, but I want to just and get it out so that way just chop this up, and maybe I'll come back and do some chopping up as far as saying what section it is, so that way you can just skip to the section if you haven't had this problem. So one of the problems I had once we got it talking to each other, one of my friends, he's part of my team that works at this church, said, "Hey, why don't we save the settings and bring it upstairs and run the settings from downstairs?" Well, yes, the settings came up, but the routing didn't come up. And so I said, well, we tried it. So I tried it. He came in. We did that. Copied the settings. Brought it up here. Brought the scene up in the scene. But not the original settings. It didn't work for us. So when we brought it in, it didn't. What happened was I used the microphone, and then all the channels lit up. So that meant that it's not talking. You said, oh man, maybe I have to run the shielded cable. So I started troubleshooting, trying to figure it out. And so I said, no, let me factory reset this, reconnect everything, and then go ahead and route it the way you would normally route it from downstairs if you didn't have this. So once I did that, they talked to each other, which is fine. One of the things that you need to know, so before they have the video room is right in front of me, right in front. We'll show that another day. Right now it's a mess because we're not done yet. So as far as what we need to do, so I don't need to show that because that's not what the conversation is about today anyway. And so I needed to send the signal from the video room where they're doing the Pro Presenter stuff on the screen, and then also taking this feed, the audio, and then the cameras and all that kind of stuff in that room. And so I had to grab it from downstairs to bring it up here. And so in the process of doing that, I ran it. I went on and routed it and got the routing right. Downstairs, the X32 downstairs, the broadcast, which is the master, wasn't turned on. So I'm sitting up here, trouble, because normally when you plug it in, you do it, you plug in whatever, if it's your iPhone or your phone or a tablet or a computer, whatever, for playback, it would just play, it would show up. Well, it wasn't showing up. And I go, why is it showing up when it's routed right? So I was getting watch some more videos and say, maybe I'm doing, maybe I missed something in the process. Yes, I did. The basics of how this system works, and this is why I really want to do the video more than anything else, is that if you're doing what we're getting ready to do and doing at this church, for this church, is that if you're going to run a broadcast mix, that down, wherever your audio, wherever your front of house, which is the one that you're running the master, whatever the master is, it controls the trim, and it also controls this board in the sense of, soon as so I'm a Christian, not that it matters, but I'm a Christian. And so I had to pray about it a minute. Like, okay, Lord, why isn't it working? I've done everything that the videos say. I've done everything that you would normally do to set it up. And the Holy Spirit reminded me to go downstairs and turn on the mixer downstairs. So I go downstairs, turn the mixer on downstairs, came upstairs, pressed play, and guess what? It played. So just to let you know that even though this is somewhat on its own, it's still a slave to the master. That's the message, by the way. Still a slave to the master. So in order for stuff to work that's plugging in anywhere else, you got to have downstairs plug, because that's the master. It controls everything. This is just the slave. And so you don't have full autonomy to do it on doing that. Okay, that's point number 1. Or number 3, probably, or whatever. Next, because that's the master, it also controls the gain. And so downstairs, it controls the gain. So you have to go in and make sure your gain structure is right downstairs, or wherever your main is. That's going to be your main trim. That's going to be your main. Your main gain. That when you set your gain structure downstairs, because what happens is if it clips in your front of house, it's going to clip up here no matter what you do. And I found that when I didn't realize that, because I do sound on Sundays at another church, And that was the problem. I'm like going, they were clipping in the other room, clipping on the master in the front of house, and I'm like, I'm having it turned down, have the trim all the way down, and it's still clipping. And that's because the way Berhinger set it up, that this only limitation right now is that the true master is the master. It controls everything. You still have your controls here, but you don't have your trim here. And so you'll have to correspond back and forth. What we're getting ready to do here, which needs to happen now that everything's connected and working, we're going to have bring in the musicians first, do our balancing, because the main thing downstairs is making sure our gain structure is right downstairs. If the gain structure is good and perfect downstairs, then upstairs is going to be perfect for your broadcast mix. Otherwise, if it's distorted downstairs, it's going to be distorted here no matter what you do. So no matter what your stream mix is going to be distorted, and your viewers are not going to have a great experience. So I wanted to share that with you. I know I'm a little longer. This will probably be a 15-20 minute video probably. But I just wanted you to know what I've learned, so that way you don't have to go through what I went through, because I took 2 days to try to figure this thing out. And I wanted to make sure I share with you, because when I looked to try to figure out what was going on, none of the videos that are out there, they teach you how to connect it. Some will teach you how to route it, but they don't teach you how to troubleshoot it, as well as send stuff, because it's separate, how it works in tandem with your front of house, as well as your, either for monitors, this works the same thing if you're using it as a monitor mix. Your monitor mix and front of house mix is the same. If you want to run, you can run all three. You can run a monitor mix, which will go off what you would do is the only difference would be was you would go off your stage box and go out of your B port to go into your A port of your, whatever, if it's a Compact or X32 or Midas board, it doesn't matter. It's just in the same family, so it'll still do the same thing. So that's it for me today. This is Tech Insights with Brian Cochran. I'm your host, and I'm back, and I'll be doing a lot more videos. But this was kind of interesting, because I like doing these kind, because if I can save you time, it saves you money, it saves you energy, and then that we have an enjoyable experience as a sound engineer, or if you're integrating and adding to your sound and changing your sound if you're a local church, or like me, I do outside the church as well. So if I want to do a broadcast mix, I can now do a broadcast mix and know how to do it, because I learned how to set it up. And so that's it. I keep going. I'm a minister too. So that's it for today. I just wanted to kind of share that with you. Hope this helps you, because it helped me. Oh yeah, I forgot one more thing. Ooh, this is a big one too. One of the things that most of the videos tell you, that the software all need to be on the same firmware in order for it to run right, which is in theory yes, but I was able to do it. So Berhinger website, Berhinger has farmed it off to another company that's handling their United States or global knowledge base and how-tos and downloads and stuff. And so Sweetwater is the one that's the national. For sure, used the United States distributor. I'm not sure if they're the global distributor. I don't know those details. It doesn't matter. So I went to Berhinger.com. Guess what? The site is down, because what I was told in some of the videos is that the firmware all have to be the same. And so I called all over the country, tried to call all over the world. I called Sweetwater. I looked up on other, went through, hours of trying to search to find if I can find, because a lot of times what you'll do is you'll find someone that has a download, and because they're in the creation business, they'll also say, by the way, this latest firmware, go down below and you can download it too, kind of thing. Nobody has it, so nobody did it. So this one, because it's a brand new board, has the latest firmware. The one downstairs is 4.06, which is great, because it has a user, the user page, the user interface part. I mean, user something that's called. I didn't need it for that, but you need at least 4.0 or 4.6 in order for it to work. So we were able to do it without having the same firmware. This is 413. The other one downstairs is 406. And I just learned in doing this process that your stage box has firmware and needs to be updated as well. So if you haven't updated your firmware right now, this is April 15th. So if you see this after April 15th, this right now, Berhinger.com is down, and they have another company that's running it. They're redoing everything on the website, so everything is down. I even tried calling the company, and the company, I emailing. I found an email and emailed them, and they're like, well, hey, right now we're revamping everything. They didn't have access to the download as well. So, but I was able to, because I think it's 0.06. If you got something older, it may not work. I'm not exactly sure, but I was able to still put it together, and they still talk to each other, even though the firmware is not the same. They're not the same. So I don't know if because of prayer. I don't know because of luck. All I know is that we're able to get it to work because it works. And so they're talking to each other. Let me show you this real quick so that we can see. One thing I want to show you. If you look at this right now, because the downstairs is not on, it shows red, and it's not because they're not connected. You'll see this green. All these would be green if sorry about that. If it was turned on, but I didn't need it turned on because I wasn't showing. I'm not showing you that process because there's enough videos out there to show you how to connect them, how to route them, that kind of thing. I want to be more on, if I find a problem, what the solution is and how I found a solution by what I did. So you too can do the same. You can do it. They don't. I mean, I don't. Just like I'll say this one more thing, and try to stop. From here, from this board to the front of house board is shielded cable. From the front of house board to the stage box is Cat 6. So I don't know, because these are shielded, that it worked, and the other one's already communicating, so the communication has to be from here to the board, because this was attached to the other board down the front of house, that it had, that has to be shielded. So I'm not saying it's positively going to work for you. It worked for me. It may work for you. One of the things next I was going to have to do was, since that didn't work, and if it still didn't connect, and they did, praise God, I would have to rerun from the front of house all the way back with the shielded cable. But I didn't have to, so I just want to share that to you, that just in case all the videos say that you got to, bachelor, what is his name? Anyway, there's a guy who's really popular, he's really knowledgeable about Berhinger. He's the one that says you need to have shielded cable, no matter what, shielded Cat 6 or cable in order to make it work. And I'm not disproving him; he's absolutely right. But I was able to get it. So if you already have an existing system already set up, that try it first before you run it to see if it works. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, if you get it where, when I mentioned earlier, the red there, if it's red after you do it, then you know you have to run a shielded cable. But if you already have an existing system, what I'm trying to say, try it first before you buy a shielded cable, because you don't have to waste the time and money if it works. If it's green, then it's going to work and it's going to talk to each other. Their computers, they all talk to each other. There's a certain language and a certain protocol that they need. And there's a need for shielded cable, because the longer the run is protected, and you don't lose lossage, and it all stays and goes to the circuit flow, signal flow. But it works for us, because Cat 6 worked from there when it's supposed to be shielded, and it's been working. I don't know if because it's a house of God, or because yes, it should be shielded, but it doesn't have to be. But if you already have if you're doing something brand new, then I would say get shielded just to make sure. But we were able to do it without it. But I just want to say that because of something. One of the things that the videos, a lot of the videos were saying that you need to have shielded cable. And you should. If you're starting with a fresh install, do it. If you already have existing, try it first. It's not going to hurt anything. It'll show an error. And then you just know that you'll have to do it. So that's it for today. And this time we're for sure done. God bless you. Talk to you later. Bye-bye now.